I had to do it in the Caidan, but I grew up with an Irish, like, the Darius agus Darius Armanian agus Coast Chase and Stay agus Chris Mavroga or agus Malene or agus Dehas Morgan Faster.
I love to hear you have such a richness of tone there that clearly anyone that doesn't have the Gaeilge or Gugus, it becomes very obvious. But those people that have the native Irish, it's so clear. It's so clear.
Yeah, I suppose one of the problems with it is that it's reflected in our Bíola, in our English as well, because much of the structures in my father's time and my mother's time, and my uncles and those now, much of the structures, well, not much, but some of the structures, at least of their Irish, would have been of their English would have been Irish based,
which I think is so rich.
It is absolutely.
Like, I mean, that's what makes it so special. The way we speak, I think it's so important.
Yeah. So you would have phrases like, I put the door out of me,
Yes.
I put the road west of me,
Oh, that's right. Even the word "come west along the road," the title of
a series on television.
That series was even that alone.
That's exactly yeah. So we had that, but
and of course, even when people are speaking English, the beautiful mixture of Irish that comes into it in such a natural way, particularly in Balavorna.
That's right, because it's a transition. It took a while to transit from complete Irish to mixture of Irish and English, and more, of course, was going to just English only. But I would be very hopeful that will be. It's not dead in Balavorna,
No. People would often say, "Let's bring in a wall of turf." Straight away, if an American is listening to that, they're wondering, the what?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Or a wall of hay as well to the cows,
Exactly.
Yeah. They would, of course, be wondering
what. And there are phrases there that we use so naturally that we forget that it sounds quite unusual to another nation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the one, I put the door out of me, how could an American or a Japanese or an English person understand that?
And I remember being, the first time I was in London, I was going towards my aunt's home in Surrey, and I was looking for a particular tube station to get to, and I asked this particular person, and they very kindly, they were going that direction, and they said, "Come with me and I will show you exactly." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm putting you out." And the person wondered, what did I mean by that?
Yes.
Because I meant, I am sorry to inconvenience you, but that's the phrase we use. I'm sorry, I'm putting you out.
Yes.
You'll hear that being said. So we forget that some of our English is so based on Irish.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, the structure and the philosophy behind it as well. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. But then, right, your training college days coming to an end, you then had to. There was going to be a choice of jobs at that time, I'd say, Con.
Yeah, they weren't that, to use an Irish word, they weren't that flushuk, that plentiful. In a sense, I got a job early on, myself and another lad named Michael Collins, and we got a job in Kinsale. And towards the end of the holidays anyway, Mick Collins telephoned me and to tell me that he wasn't taking the job. And meanwhile, very late after, maybe Clahulam and McCreedon phoned me and asked me if I had any job or did I know of anything. So I said, actually, I do. And Mick and myself and Pajo went down to Kinsale the following Sunday, and Blue Consul, I think it was, anyway. And
Dundera was it the name of?
No, St. John's School in Kinsale.
Oh, right.
The brothers had been there.
It was later that Michael went to.
Correct, yeah. Yes. So while he was of the three who, and the two of us, he was the only one who actually stayed, Mick, and I stayed there a year, and then I saw a job in Rylan. And I decided I'd take it for a couple of years, and I did, and before I knew where I was, 20 years had passed by, you know.
Wow. A full 20 years in Ryland.
Or more. I went actually back to university then and I did a master's degree and a diploma in childcare studies, which was great for me because it gave me the impetus and the confidence and the upskilling as well.
Yeah. And had you to travel far to Ryland now?
Well, you see, I went to live in Macroom after a period of time, so it was about 11 and a half miles, so it's just about 20 minutes every morning.
Yes,
sometimes in snowy weather or frosty weather, the roads would be fairly bad there, but there were good dikes there you could pull in, swing in and out again. Yeah.
And again, you had such great confidence there over the years. And of course, later, the person that actually took up your post when you went was, of course, a person native of Mill Street, Mary Buckley Casey.
That's right, Mara Nicotic, Mary Casey. She was with me, I don't know how many years, herself and another lady named Mrs. Healy, Mrs. Nora Healy. Nora Leahy, one time from Ryland, and then we had a lady named Mary Finn from this general area.
I know Mary, indeed.
For a few years, very good teacher as well.
Whose daughter is a very famous athlete.
Is that so?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not surprised because Mary was very much into athletics. So yeah, yes. And Mary Casey then married local man Connie Buckley, and eventually took over from myself. I know that two of her daughters are teachers. One of them is actually teaching in Ballyvourna, where I went to school myself. Yeah,
right. And of course, Rena. The person, Mr. Buckley, that Mary married, the famous hurler
and footballer, yeah.
Rena Buckley, is it?
That's right, yeah.
Yes.
Rena Buckley would be Tim Buckley's daughter. Tim would be a brother to Mary Casey's husband.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I knew there was a direct link there. And we actually happened to meet their mum. We interviewed their Mr. Buckley's mum in the house there close to Ryland.
Do you mean the elderly Miss?
Yes.
Yeah, she would have been from just back beyond the bounds and Topacombe, just back beyond.
Fascinating mum, absolutely. Yeah. And on that very Sunday that we were interviewing, Eilidh Buckley and myself were there to do the interview. There was an All-Ireland going on, and they were keeping in touch with how Rena was doing, and she eventually was the champion.
Yeah, that was someday to be interviewing her. All right, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then, right, so you spent, did you retire from?
I retired from my land then. I actually hadn't intended to retire. I intended to keep going a few more years, and I was involved with the INTO Principals and Deputy Principals Committee at national level, and one morning I was going to Dublin on the early train at 7:15 from Cork. And somewhere between Cork and Mallow, a thought struck me that I had given 40 years of my life to education, that was enough to give to any one thing, that there were more adventures in life. Yeah. I told them in the INTO when I reached Dublin, I told my wife that night, the Board of Management the following Tuesday, and all the parents had a letter the following Wednesday, and I did all that in case I'd changed my mind. Well done. I burned my bridges, yeah.
Con, you have had such courage through life, and you have done taking decisions like that are milestone decisions, and it takes quite an amazing, courageous mind to be able to say, it's a little risk, but it's the right thing to do. And that is, and I'm sure you now know it was the right thing to do.
It definitely was the right thing to do. You see, and in relation to risk, you see, life, this is my philosophy of life, really. Life is a great adventure, you know.
And if you have health, you have wealth.
You're rich. Absolutely, yeah. To be mobile in the morning, to be able to eat, and I think that for myself, I feel an obligation to use whatever gifts I have for as long as God gives me the health to use them, because.
And I feel that you are blessed with great health.
Well, I think God has done great things for me, little though I deserved it, but He's been very generous with me.
Because any of us that, let's say, have had health challenges, which this happens to many people, you begin to see life in such a different way, because you realize that we have not here a lasting city, and that you can actually change one's course in life, or you can view things in such a different manner if you are, let's say, challenged with health scenarios, especially serious health scenarios, that from which you overcome, and again, being blessed to overcome.
Yeah. Sometimes, I suppose, I don't know if Shakespeare said this or not, but if he didn't, he should have said it. Like, sometimes change is forced upon us, And it's a very good thing that it is, because life can be.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Yeah. I think we'll put you in the same category as Shakespeare there, Con. That was great. Please repeat that.
Well, just I said that maybe Shakespeare should have said, sometimes change is forced upon us, and it's so good that it is, because otherwise we just stay in the same rut all the time. Yeah.
But that is so true for so many people, and I could identify with that. I really could. Yeah.
There's just another thing, Sean. You see, we also grew up at a time of trusting in God. I remember one time, there was 8 of us there, my mother were 8 of us, and I asked her one time, when I had children of my own, you did a fairly good job. She did very good, but in relation to myself, I'd be saying a reasonably good job in rearing us all, and what's the secret? She didn't have to think for 1 second. The answer was instant. Say your prayers and trust in God, you see. Right. So now the both it's very easy to scoff at a simple statement like that, that prayer. But look, prayer is vital to life,
Vital.
And when to use an Irish phrase like "Nor again dian dal samach tagan and dial gan kire stock." When God is put outside the door, the devil comes in without being invited. That's true of a family home. It's true of us as individual people. It's true of our country as a nation. And it's maybe something we ought to look at a little bit,
And I'm sure you've passed this on to your own family. Your own family? How many in family, Con?
4 surviving children. We had a few 2 died in childbirth, and a couple of more then as well. But we still count them as children and as human beings, because while there was life, there was there was life, and while there was life, there was God.
Of course,
and always is. Now, just to come back to the thing about trust in God, you see, this is why I wouldn't worry if one thing didn't work out right, because I'd know that the next thing maybe is the right thing. So that you trust all the time, that you trust in God, that everything will be all right. And look, when we think of it, everything is always all right anyway.
Yeah.
So I would just, that is one of the key messages I want to put across from Gobnet.
Yes. And I'm looking at the book here now, absolutely beautiful cover here. Gobnet, People and Places Associated with St. Gobnet by Con Lynch. And it's, is it Maura O'Sullivan that is the artist?
Yeah. As I was saying to the children earlier in the museum,
I'm fascinated with this and the link with the stained glass window.
Yeah, I wanted... you see, Gobnet had to be a young girl when she arrived in Ballyburney. Like, if she had traipsed from Inisheer to Dunqueen to Ballygrand to Kilgobnet and Waterford, Abbey'swell and near Glantan and Lubberson, Clonbrahad and Ballyburney. I mean, she wasn't in her 50s, so
she didn't have arthritis.
Exactly, Sean, exactly. So I gave instructions to an intermediary, to Maura. I said, I want a painting done for the cover of my book of a girl in her late 20s or early 30s. I want her to be dressed in the garb of the time, namely a cloak, a lena, and a cloaca. I want her to have red hair because that's the hair, the colour hair Harry Clark gave her in the famous window in the Honan Chapel. And I said, I don't want her looking straight out. I actually stood and I said, I want her looking like this,
As if she's seeing a vision.
My idea was like that she was looking beyond. Now, what beyond could be anywhere, but it was beyond.
And I can see that the white deer are also present.
Correct. So I was actually...
and the beehives.
I was astounded when I called Tamara and she showed me the picture, because it was exactly as I had envisioned it, even though I had never spoken to Mara about it. But she did better, you see, something I hadn't thought of. But I did say Mara is the woman to do that, because she will know herself instinctively what's needed. So she actually, in the background of the picture is St. Gobnet's Shrine, where Seamus Murphy's statue now stands,
Absolutely. And we have a Seamus Murphy statue down here in Drishan Cemetery also, in the Drishan Sisters Cemetery.
Yes, I was there because I...
1954.
So she's standing in that location as it would have been at that time, and the only recognisable item there, because it was there before, is the little round house that's there, which local people call Gobnet's house, or Gobnet's Kishtin Gobnet. Then of course you have the beehives.
Now, what is the connection with the bees? A lot of our listeners might wonder.
Well, I suppose the tradition is that she, at one time at least, turned the bees on some invaders, There was supposed to be fairly nasty people from another county, which we, since we won't mention.
No, we won't mention.
But anyway, I don't know if but anyway, that is a way back in history.
Right.
And that there's a...
They definitely went fast.
Yes, well, I can tell you this much. I remember one day disturbing a nest of wild bees, and my goodness, will I ever forget it? So I can understand the power of the hives now. That has been translated, told again then, like that she turned the bees into soldiers. But I think what actually happened is that they upset the hives, or she sent the bees after them, and they retreated to that place from whence they came.
Right, exactly. And of course, the number of people whose name is Gobnet, even here in Mill Street. We have a wonderful lady here in Mill Street, Gobnet Creedon, and of course she's Gobnet Cronin. Yes. So, but the number of people that use that name up to this present day.
Yeah, actually during the 11th of February this year, a lady in Ballybona named Eileen Leonard, who was in charge of Clontarf and Musgrave, she put a Facebook post up that she was looking for 100 people whose names were Gobnet to come on Gobnet's Day, and they came.
Really? They reached the 100?
So I believe, in Ishir now, for example, the lady I was speaking to there, a very well-informed lady, she said that it wasn't a commonly used name there, but that one family retained the name Gobnet generation after generation, but that the girls generally took Gobnet as their confirmation name.
Yes.
And then, of course, you have variations of it, Baina, Abbey. We were in Ballivona,
are they all variations of Gobnet?
Yes, and some say that Deborah is as well. So I'd be inclined to go.
So that's the Abbey Hotel.
Correct. In Ballivona, when I was growing up, we never spoke of Gobnet as in Irish only as the name of Gobnet, but in English he was referred to St. Abbey. And so that's
St. Abbey, yes, yes, and even people would say St. Abbey's Day.
They would, and still would. My mother now and all the people of her generation.
Con, is there a Gobnet in your family?
No, there isn't. I don't know why that is. Well, my father was from Kerry. But while my mother was local, there wasn't a Gobnet in.
But possibly they took it as a confirmation name. You never know.
I don't know, to be honest. Now, I don't know that, but I know. And
is there a male version of that name?
I don't think so.
No, just Goblet is...
no, I don't think so. No, look, you see, sometimes people can get lost in details, and details can become magnified to obscure reality. And now there are various theories about the origin of the name, that it came from Gobnu, who was the smith for the Tuatha De Danann, and that may well be. And I wouldn't be disputing that if that's the belief, and if people can... but, like, I'd be very careful about any suggestion at all, to say that Goblet was a goddess or anything like that. Like, because I can tell you that the people of my mother's generation would be absolutely furious at that. Like,
Right.
We knew who's God. God is God. Goblet was Goblet. And all the prayers are on
That's right. It doesn't come into it in that
except for the first prayer. Like, so she was a powerful intercessor and a great saint to us, we felt we had a particular pull, while we in heaven, while we had Goblet.
Exactly. But, Con, and thank you for sharing. This is absolutely magical. We've actually gone over an hour of wonderful... And this is... we'll have to have a series. This will be a series. There'll be part 1, 2, and 3. Con, it's when you retired from a wonderfully dedicated life of teaching that you decided to start writing.
Well, I actually started a little bit earlier than that. I started writing a book when I was in Raunga Cahir, and I was 9 years old, and in school.
Really?
And I wrote, I don't know, maybe a page and 3/4 or 2 pages.
I hope you kept it.
I did not. Then in St. Pat's, we had a wonderful man there named Mr. Rigney.
Oh, James Rigney.
I forget his first name.
James Rigney, I remember.
So I wrote a piece... just a piece of a short story one time, and he said, look, you should get that published, and anyway, I didn't. For many years then, I made many efforts. Different times I wrote 70 pages, maybe 80 pages, maybe 100 pages, 120 pages, and just ended up each time tearing them up and throwing them in the bin, being dissatisfied with them. But eventually then I settled down to it, and once I got a line, something that I wanted to follow, and along the right path is written with an aim in view. Like it's quite a spiritual book, actually. Like for those who want to see.
So you began with the title of the book was
Along the Right Path. Yeah,
right.
And that was the first one. Right. Like that's a novel, but it's written with a purpose in mind. It takes people all over the world, and all of life is in it, But I got fantastic feedback from that. People say that it's one type of book that a page turner, or one that is hard to put down once you take up, and a plot so complicated that they find it amazing. Now, I find it amazing too because I didn't start out with the plot, it just developed as it went along.
But even the title, Con, Along the Right Path, that's what we all hope, that we are on the right path.
And that is correct. It starts off about the life of a teacher, who's met with many tragedies, who eventually became a priest. And because of the tragedies of his life, he's very understanding. And he's actually in a parish then where there's another individual who, because of the circumstances of his life, is not so broad-minded. And the two of them eventually become great friends, And there are many other things in it, like such as the problems of drugs, problems of marriage breakup, and the difficulties facing people whose marriage broke up and are in a second relationships, and their relationship with the church now. So I know it sounds very difficult, but actually it's quite simple in a way, because it's written simply. Yes. And everything I write is written with the reader in my mind. Mm-hmm. I visualize people reading it, just the same as if I was playing music. I'd visualize people dancing to it, Well
done. And when was this published, Con?
Honestly, I'm not so sure. It's since I recovered it. It's 4 years ago, I suppose, And I know that my good friend Mick Creedon,
2019.
drove from Kinsale to Macroom to buy a copy of it anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and
there was a special launch. It was just pre-COVID.
It was pre-COVID. It was launched in Royland. I did that out of respect to Royland. I have great time for the people of Royland, and I said that in my own mind that the first fruits of my labour as a writer, that I would want to give it there to the Park Royland. Now, whether people understand that or whatever, but that was the whole motive of why I had it there, and they had a lovely launch. But I was planning the Macroom launch and subsequent to that, but COVID stopped that.
Yes.
And the rest is history.
Right. Yeah. And that was followed by Lives of Service.
Yes, that's the Lives of Services in relation to the priest brothers and nuns of Ballavoona. Look, there's a reality that there's nobody under the age of 30 who has had a good word about a priest or a brother or a nun, probably in our national media now in recent years. Now, that is so. Minorities made mistakes. They did terrible, awful things,
Yes.
And there's no excusing that. And it is a good thing that it was aired.
Right.
Because it's a cleansing.
Yes.
But it's been repeated so often to the complete obliteration or oblivion of all the wonderful work. So, for example, like the health, so many generations of this time would never even have been born, for their previous generations wouldn't have been born because they would have died were it not for the hospitals that nuns like the Mercy,
the Bon Secours sisters,
so Mary Aikenhead, all of those amazing things they did.
Yeah, you see, you cannot brush the whole thing with just because of difficulties in one area, which would have been major difficulties at one point, but yet there is so much good has been done by so many, and that mustn't be forgotten.
No, and that is, you see, what I'm as St. Peter said, I am a sinful man, and I have my failings, but I would be concerned that that truth was becoming a casualty. So that the young people didn't know the true story.
Yes.
And now, if I went on television and started talking about Sister Eileen Healy, I would have people phoning up about what about this priesthood and that priesthood. So I thought the best thing to do was write their lives and let people judge themselves. Yeah, right. And that's it. Now, maybe everybody in the book.
Very wise approach.
Yeah, maybe everyone in the book isn't perfect.
Yes,
no, but
no one is perfect.
Absolutely, what I was going to say, Sean, because look, as I said, like Peter, I am a sinful man. We all have our weaknesses and we all have our failures, maybe some more than others, but in the balance of life, so long as the good triumphs, that is the victor in the game of life,
That is such a great maxim in life, really. Yeah. It's a bit like Mother Teresa, whom I had the privilege of meeting twice, and even meeting with someone like that, and realizing what that person has meant to the world.
Yes.
And some of her phrases there are so important, and have become maxims for many people in life now at this point. And of course we come on then to the wonderful book that was launched by Bishop Crean.
Yes, Bishop Crean launched the book. I actually sent it to him about 3 weeks or a month beforehand, so he actually had read most of the book. And I suppose it was lovely that he actually quoted from it as well, passages from it in his in what he said about it.
Where was it actually?
The launch was in the Abbey Hotel in Ballavoona. You see,
that's right.
To have the launch in Ballavoona for St. Covenant, and there was quite a big crowd there. I was signing books from 12:30 that day until 6, apart from the launch, non-stop. They sold 3,500 worth of the books there.
That is some sale.
Mostly Governor, but they sold a few of the others as well. And what really pleased me was that people came from Dunqueen in Kerry, people came from Kilgovernor in Kerry, people came from Ballyagran in Limerick, and from Kilgovernor in Waterford for the launch. Actually, one man and his wife Waterford were playing Tipperary that day,
Yes.
and maybe we should investigate this further about the influence the government could have on sport. But they contacted me and they said, look, we want to go to the match, but it's not until 4 o'clock. So could we come to Ballyvourna at 12:30? So I said, of course, absolutely delighted. But I texted back and said, you're going to awful trouble. There's no need to do that. So she texted back, no. We are coming, that's it, we're interested in government, and that's it. So they came and they actually went up to the round, and they went on then to Thurles, and as you know, against the odds, Waterford beat Tipperary on the day. No, I'm not suggesting that government was the cause of it, but
that's amazing.
It shows their commitment,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But of course, as you say, if anyone had within their family circle the name government itself, straight away there was interest in a book that actually of the title of government. But I can see that the feedback and the response to it has been just amazing.
It has been great. Even while I was doing the book, Sean, I know in Ballygrand, the man there who owns the field, one day I telephoned him if I could call, and he said, can you delay it for a couple of hours? And when I went up, that good, decent man, I spent a couple of hours clearing away into the well and cleaning it out so that I could see it properly. Similarly in Waterford, the first time I didn't locate the well, second time I did, couldn't get near it. The third time of the day I went down to the mast. There was a group of about 10 people to meet me there. They had cut a passage, cut the bushes and the rest of it down into the well so I could see it. And they're actually developing that well now. They're going to build a wall around it and that sort of thing. So another school then wanted a picture of government, and I had said to Maura when she did this book that would also could be used as a print.
Yes.
And I got sample prints, which all this money, the vast amount of the money that from that now goes to the shrine in Ballyvourna. Yeah, so all that goes for me is the cost of the printing.
Right.
So I don't take travel expenses or anything like that because
Tremendous.
the
amount in the amazing research you did there, Con, there was a lot of travelling expenses.
There was, but then sure, look, some
but your heart was in it.
Yeah, some people play golf and it costs money, and I write these books. It costs me a bit of money, all right, but that's what we have to do with our gifts anyway, Sean.
It's amazing, and as I say, as we look here at these amazing publications, the way forward with such superb health, with such great enthusiasm, and with such great passion for things relating to Ballyvourna and government and far beyond. What's the future holding for yourself, Con?
Well, while God gives me my health, okay, if person gets gifts, they have to use them. Now, you will remember the story of the talents in the Bible. And the fellow who got 10 made 10. The fellow who got 5 made 5. The fellow who got 1, he buried it. Now the Lord was extremely hard on him. He said, take the talent off him, give it to the fellow who made the 10, and cast him out where there's weeping and gnashing of tears, which is extremely difficult. So that's a great bit of a warning, a heads up to the rest of us, that whatever talents God gave us, we didn't get them to bury them. We got them to use them for our own good, yes, but for the good of others. So that's what I hope I'm doing, what the Lord wants me to do.
And your amazing message, and such a very wise message, is being heard worldwide through our radio program. And there are people listening to you in Australia, in New Zealand, in Louisville in Kentucky, in a place called Toledo, Ohio,
yes.
In many parts of the United Kingdom and right through Europe, including Germany. So that'll just that you are sharing with those people, and we thank you hugely, Con, for sharing such an amount. And I know that we have recorded now 1 hour 14 minutes, but we are going to share this in 3 episodes.
Yeah, good,
because and we'll. But by the way, if we were to play some music at the end of the different episodes, is it traditional music? What would you like to hear?
I'd need to think a little bit about it, but just I suppose a mixture, Sean, a mixture of a bit of Irish, but also a bit of religious music, you know.
Right. Corcule?
Yes, that would be lovely. That would be lovely. Yeah.
But we'd have a variety of many.
Yes, and others as well, you know, a bit of religious music, because like the book, actually, all the 3 books, they're all spiritual books. If a person wants to see something else, then naturally they'll see it, but they're all spiritual books.
Yeah.
And Goblet, that's
all those books could be made available within a church even.
Possibly, yeah, they could. It's wherever they will do good, Sean.
Absolutely.
You know, wherever they will do good.
So just to tell our worldwide audience now, if they want to purchase any or all of the books, where is there a website? Is there a direct link?
Yeah, there is a website, and it's I took the name Cornelius when I became an author, Sean, because, as you know, like the Saint Peter his name was changed from Simon to Peter, and it was a custom to adopt a new name for a new undertaking. So, but anyway, Cornelius is the name I was christened. So, so it's Cornelius Lynch, author at .ie. So I'll say that again. My website is the usual https://www.corneliuslynchauthor.ie, and there's
all the information is there.
And they can be bought there, and the postage and all is included there.
And all the details are up in the website. We'll actually put that link up on our website, and people will be able to link. And of course, they can also, if they happen to be passing Mill Street, Macroom, Ballyvourna,
Phillips Bookshop in Mallow as well, all in Ballyvourna, Rainery, Inchigeelagh, Ballingeary. Now I'll be going to Kerry next week as well, so hopefully they'll be available. I think the Friary in Killarney, somebody said they would like to have some. They're in Veritas in Cork City, and I would probably, some will be available in Beaufort, probably in Dingle, hopefully. But at this moment in time, it's, as you said, Mill Street, Macroom, Ballyvourna, Phillips and Mallow, and in Lumberstown as well. They're available in the post office there, yeah.
Tremendous. That's a great range. And because even the distribution of the book is a challenge, getting it out there. And of course, here in Mill Street, it's a very appropriately named bookshop called Wordsworth. Here in Mill Street, and I know that they'll be available there at all points, and if they run out of them, they can contact Con straight away.
They'll have my phone number. Yeah, I'd also like to say, Sean, this is important, because a book like say Lives of Service or Goblet, it's important to involve people with that. And I try to involve schools in the areas with which he is associated. Now, schools are busy places. I was a principal, I know.
Yes.
But still...
Well, I must say you're very generous, because here today we had young people from Presentation National School here in Mill Street. And, dear listeners, Con presented a copy of Goblet, the beautiful book, signed copy of Goblet, to the school, and that'll be treasured within that school.
I hope so, Sean, but it was wonderful that the Moon Tour is that interested in the local history. They obviously had visited the church as well and examined it in great detail. I was very touched by that, you know, and that's just wonderful. But so Skull, Gobleton and Mallow, they did a chapter for me. The school in Abbey's-Well did a chapter for me. Skull in Clondrohid did a great chapter for me, and the entire class, and they were so, I suppose, enthusiastic or taken by the idea that they actually produced their own book this year. Not on Government, but it's a great book. I don't know what the name of it is, but it's turned out school children, and they were in 5th class that time. Skull Ballavona, the lovely, simple stuff they did, and a student from Skull Cooley as well did. So I was really touched that so many of them did, because the schools are so busy.
And I know that I was speaking to the principal teacher of Presentation National School here in Mill Street, who is, of course, Siobhan Buckley, but associated very much with Skull Gobleton in Mallow also.
I know who you mean. Yes. I think her grandfather was Master O'Hegata, who taught me, I think. No, I may be wrong, but I think that if her mother had been associated with Skull Gobleton and Mallow, I actually met that lovely lady fairly recently at a wedding. Yes,
tremendous. And Siobhan definitely praised Goblet to the heights, and the very richly deserved heights as such. Well, all I can say, Con, is that you have been most patient to have conversed with me here within Mill Street Museum. It feels like as we only spoke for 10 minutes, but in fact we spoke for 1 hour, 20 minutes, and it just shows that what an interesting person, number one, you are, but number two, the actual content about which we spoke, it was hugely interesting, and I know will be of great interest to our worldwide audience there, and I'm sure we'll put up a lot of the information that we need to put about the books on our website, millstreet.ie, and create a direct link with your own website, because in that way then you have embraced technology. You've also embraced the soundness and the wisdom of not forgetting our past, and particularly not forgetting our spiritual past. And that definitely this has projected in a wonderful manner. Míle Míle Buíochas, Crahúr Con Lynch here at Museum Rhoda Willing here on this the longest day of the year. But it didn't feel in any way long here. And at this point, we'll definitely have to have some sustaining refreshments here with our compliments. Con, Míle Míle Buíochas.
Okay, Sean, it was a pleasure talking to you. I have a phrase which says old friends are best because they never understand you. So it is good to meet you as an old friend as well. And really great talking to you. And I knew that you understood so well what I was saying as well. So can I say the last word from Government? You see, for all those who worried about exams and worried about everything, again, she was a woman of prayer and absolute trust in God. And I couldn't emphasize that too much for anyone. Just a trust in God. It will be all right. Absolutely. Everything will be all right.
Well, the other thing that St. Government definitely has granted you, Con, is youth. You haven't grown a day older. In fact, they say grow older gracefully, but goodness, that is a blessing to be able to. Yeah. I recognize you straight away at any point along any time we've ever met, and that to be recognized so many years on is very. And I'm sure you'll find this experience constantly when you meet friends that you may not have met for 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, Sean, you're very kind. I know I have changed a little bit. My hair is just a little bit different tinted, and there's a lot less of it there. But thank you for your kind words, Sean. You're a gentleman as well.
One last point, because I never realised there was a great teaching tradition in your family. I believe 2 brothers have been teachers?
Yeah, I call it the family disease, Sean. It goes back a long ways, yeah. My grandmother was a teacher in school in Clare called Knocknabro. Now, she was the mother of 17 children, so one time the numbers were going down, and there was a suggestion from the inspector that she might become redundant, and she was expecting yet another child at the time, so she looked at him and she said, redundant me I, at least that's, she said. She never said it, but the inspector wrote it in the book that she did. But then, of course, there was 6 of her children in religion, and in my own family, then 4 of us, I think, were teachers. 4, I think, yeah. There was my brother Donica, the poor man, God rest his soul, in Ovens, and myself and my...
Donica created a wonderful impact. I often heard Donica being spoken about.
Absolutely,
as he was the principal teacher in Ovens.
Yeah, that's right. Poor man died in Morton Nuran. Yeah, and the funds from the first book went to Morton Nuran, most of it. And then my brother Paddy, who was a principal in Sunday as well for some years and is still running preschools in Cork, and my sister Mary, who was vice principal in Ahacosta. The next generation then has followed on a bit as well. 3 of my own became teachers. I never asked them to, but it's just what they wanted to do. And so, as I said, it's the family blessing. But I just jokingly call it the family disease, but look, it's a great blessing.
Yeah. I'm delighted I brought up that aspect, and I never realised what a rich contribution to education your family had actually presented. My goodness, Again, Con, mila buechas, and I think it is time for refreshments at this point.
Sure.
And yes, it's 1 minute, 25 seconds. Sorry, 1 hour, 25 minutes, nearly 26 minutes.
And we hadn't a drop of drink, Sean, you know.
Excellent, brilliant. And now, of course, we'll have to play some of the most appropriate music for Con coming up just now.